All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another fabulous, wonderful, glorious, exceptional episode of More Content Talk. That's the only show that cuts through the glam, the glitz, and all the bullshit to bring you the truthiest news that we can find so we can help you unwind and show you a good time. Perhaps show you a rhyme and never get behind, even though that will happen from time to time. There you go. Instant poetry. Um, you know what reminds me of poetry? Changing the subject completely. So tonight's topic, um, does time fly? You hear that a lot, don't you? This notion of a time that is going, it's going at this pace that's so fast we can't catch up to it. We would notice, you know, if the people in our lives, our loved ones, or all those things, if they had problems, we would notice if time didn't go so fast. That's the problem. It's not us. It's never us. The problem is time, the thing that we invented. That's the problem. Now, obviously, you can get into debates on that. I don't mean to really get into that, but think about that. This time is a concept. Time doesn't exist. It's not something you can grab onto and hold. And it's a useful concept. And I'm not trying to, be like a, I don't know, a deconstructionist and blow your mind, man. Whoa, time doesn't exist. It's not that kind of show, okay? You can go do that in your college dorm room. I'm I graduated from college. I'm not interested in that anymore. So, what am I getting at? Well, I don't know if time flies. I really don't. Um, when I was young, people said time flies when you're having fun, and that was a very, it was a phrase that was just said, and people just said, well, time flies when you're having fun, and it's when you're having all this fun. You see, the time moves faster, and perhaps we could elongate the time if we were all miserable. Which is kind of what that statement implies. Is like, you live longer if you're miserable. You realize this, don't you? Because the time will slow down, and it will add years to your life. Even though we know that's not true, that's the exact opposite. The happier you are, the more fun you have, the more longevity you will have. Um, so this whole idea of time flying, I don't know. But now I notice it's devolved into just people just say, well, time flies. Whenever anything, they something goes by, because, well, that's just life. Time is this ever evaporating glass of lemonade, and it's sweet and sour, and then it's gone, and life is just miserable, and that's that. And I don't know, I'm bored. I get bored. Like, it's fine to sulk for a while, right? We all do it. We all get mopey, and we go sulk. I'm not talking about depression, by the way. That's different. That's a clinical diagnosis, and you can't just get over depression. This isn't about that. I'm not talking about illness, because the depression is an illness, or you can call it a disorder or an illness or whatever. But you're not supposed to behave in the way that depressed people behave, because it's not good for your health. Not because depressed people are bad, but because it's not good for their health. And I'm a huge proponent of that because I've experienced depression. So I'm not talking about depression. What I'm talking about is just the way people carry themselves, from day to day, kind of with this kind of nonchalant. Well, that's life. Time flies. We have no control over the things that obstruct us, and we can't do anything about it. And so let's just all be miserable together. At least we'll be together and be miserable, right? It sounds like fun, doesn't it? Yeah, no, not really. It's you need a little adventure in life. You need a little risk taking. You don't have to go crazy. You don't have to, like, go Charlie Sheen or any of that shit. I mean, that's nuts. That's No one's advocating for that. No one's advocating for you to be Aleister Crowley, even though Aleister Crowley wasn't, like, a horrible person. I mean, like, He was weird. There's weird people in the world, but no one wants you to live the life of someone else. I suppose is what I'm getting at, and I think what people are saying is that they're getting caught up in trying to aspire to be something they're not, right? If you're constantly trying to reach a goal that isn't yours, you're going to feel ostracized. You're going to feel left out of the game, like you were left out. You know, no one notices you. You're left behind. And so I think when you're in that mind state, you tend to make the time fly. I decided the title of this episode already, which is awful. You're never supposed to do that, so it's probably going to be cheesy. But I think it's going to be cheesy in a good way. Because my title was, Does Time Really Fly? Or have we just missed our flight? Does it fly by us? Does it just go by? Really? It's like that, right? Like poof, and we have no way to control it. It's completely up to time, and we have no say in this equation, right? I can't accept that. That's not reasonable. That's an extreme. You're going to an extreme, and you're really when you have that mindset, you're I don't know what you are. I don't know if you're maybe nihilism doesn't cut it, because you know there's a belief there. There's this belief system that the worst will happen regardless of what you do, and that's not true. You can alter things, and you can make in a sense your own reality. You're still going to be a part of the world, and you're still going to be part of other people's reality, but you have power over your life. That's the whole thing. You know, my point is always you do have power. There's no point in getting lost in these concepts of that are just going to lead you to despair, and they're just going to lead you to, you know, well, what's the point anyway? I may as well just suffer in silence. And that's no way to live. And so yeah, maybe if you're living that way where you won't ever express yourself, and you refuse to experiment in this great world that is really just a series of scientific phenomena, and you're actively choosing not to participate, I think you will not appreciate the world for what it is, and the beautiful thing that it is. This kind of chaotic supernova that's just, you know, rushing through space, that none of us will probably ever comprehend fully, at least not in this lifetime. So, or this generation. So, why not participate in that? Is what I'm saying. Why sit around moping? Because I think that is what is making the time fly. Is that you're not getting on the plane. You got to show up to the flight to take off, is what I'm saying. You got to get the tickets. You got to, you know, it's a whole process. If you ever been on a flight, I think most people have. I've only ever been on one, believe it or not, and I'm a performer. Isn't that crazy? You can perform locally. You don't have to go over the world. That's a myth. But so you think about it. There's a lot that goes into a flight. You got to set stuff aside. You got to make sure that you're with a good company that isn't going to stiff you on the price, or, you know, I don't know, leave you stranded in the middle of nowhere if they run out of gas. You got to make sure that you know, especially nowadays, you got to make sure people aren't spitting all over you, or there going to be, you know, procedures to make sure that doesn't happen. Am I going to be safe on the plane? There's all kinds of things you have to think about when planning a flight. You can't just show up and expect it to go well, because people are going to look at you like you're crazy, right? You show up, you don't have your ticket. You show up, you haven't packed any luggage. You show up and you're not wearing any clothes, whatever it may be. There's going to be a reaction. It's going to be, hey, you can't get on the plane like that. Okay? You got to put your pajamas on or something. We're not flying that way, all right? Whatever it may be. So what is it? What is it that you have to do personally? And this is a question that you should ask yourself, because you're the only person who can answer it. Is what is it you have to do personally to show up for that flight and make sure that time doesn't just pass you by? And I think that one thing universally that we all can do is pursue the career choice. I'm not gonna say dream, because a dream can be anything. But the career choice, the acceptable, the stable career choice, not even stable, just something that you're interested in, and it's a very difficult thing to describe, that can maybe get you to a decent life, and part of life is struggle, right? And as we struggle, time doesn't seem to go so fast. And so what that tells me is that maybe the struggle doesn't have to be so bad. Maybe the struggle can be fun, right? You think about it, if you are learning to dance or you're learning a new instrument, there's a lot of struggle that goes into, you can't just jump into the symphony. There's a lot of, very taxing, awful, horrible mistakes you're going to have to make. And you're going to feel so, just awful that you made those mistakes. And you're not going to feel like you should be doing this. And, it's like with the podcast, this idea I had, like maybe I'll do this thing. I'm a little different than most people. Maybe some people will like it, It's not a thing to where it's like a sure thing. So, I'm taking a risk, right? You're watching it right here, and you could hate this. I don't know. And if you do, I mean, more power to you. Because in my personal opinion, if I give up, it's not your fault. It's mine. You didn't do anything to me. Like, you leave a comment in the comment section, you say this sucks. That does nothing in the long run. Sure, it hurt my feelings a little bit. Everyone gets their feelings hurt. Anyone who says they don't get their feeling hurt is a fucking liar. Everyone does. That's why people get so upset over little discussions or even questions. And people ask, well, hey, maybe you should have done that differently, and freak out, right? I used to do that. And someone would just ask me a question. Like, well, were you trying to go for that because it didn't really come off? That would really offend me, but you don't know what you're talking about. And maybe I didn't even fully understand that they were trying to help, right? Like, maybe that person was honestly trying to help me. Someone left me a comment before, and they're like, hey, I can't hear what you're saying. And on my end, everything sounded fine. So I had to go back. I had to take all this, shit down and redo it again. And that's the struggle, and that pisses me off, and that takes hours out of my precious time, right? My precious time that I am using to do pretty much nothing else. And that's my point, is that we're always going on and on about our precious time. I got a kid. I got a kid. Don't go there. A lot of people, they look at men nowadays and they're like, well, yeah, but I have kids. And it's like, well, so do I have one, and in my opinion, I have more than that, because I'm very instrumental in raising my niece, especially. So, but I have one is a 5-year-old, and this is why I'm out here every night, and it's a beautiful view, isn't it? Look at that. It's beautiful. There's nothing wrong with being out here. And in California right now, it was freezing for a while, and I was talking about how cold it was all the time. But it's beautiful tonight. I don't know, it's like, feels like 50 degrees out here. It's nice. I don't even need the heater. Am I just babbling? Maybe. But I think that my point is, I could have made a big deal out of that. I could have said, wow, why me? Why? Why does this have to happen to me? Right? This is the way I used to think. I would have looked at this situation and said, this is complete shit. I have to do this outside. This is completely unacceptable. I would have freaked out about it, and talked about how horrible my life was. And I probably would have devoted a good 5-6 hours, maybe even a few days to that. And there goes the time, baby, just like that, right? Time flies when you're having fun. I don't know. That doesn't sound like a lot of fun. And maybe that's why we changed it to time flies, because we spend a lot of time thinking about our failures and obsessing over other people's criticism as if it's somehow important. Why do we want to please every little person? What's wrong with getting a dislike on YouTube? Oh no. What's wrong with I don't know, just completely flopping and just not doing well on certain social media websites? I do pretty well for a guy and his hot ass wife with a camera and some lights and a microphone. I do all right. I do okay. I'm not the best. I'm not trying to be the best though. I'm trying to live. I'm trying to do my thing. I'm trying to be different. I think I'm succeeding. It makes me happy. I've had people listen to the show. Some people hate it. And then there are people, they like it and they keep coming back and they keep listening. So that could be you. If you want to do a podcast, you can do something else. I don't know, maybe you want to crochet, whatever you want to do. The point is that all that time that you spent obsessing over the criticism, obsessing over what could have been, is time that you could have spent making something else. And it's not always going to be the thing that you want. I wanted to be a theatrical performer and go around and travel and be on Broadway and do all this wonderful stuff. And I was on my way there. It really was. I got really sick. You can't control it. You have epilepsy, you have seizures. I had one on stage. Yeah, in the middle of performance. Really messed me up. Made me scared to perform for a while. Can you believe that? I had performed all my life. My whole life. Aside from the first 12 years. But I mean, is that really a long time in a lifetime? I feel like your life starts around 13, right? So really, I think my whole life I devoted to performing. All of a sudden, one day I got sick. I was terrified to perform. I couldn't memorize lines anymore. All these things that I love to do. You hear the story about Robin Williams? I went through that, man. No, I didn't have Lewy body syndrome, but I had really bad epilepsy, and it causes the same neurodegeneration and cognitive decline that goes on. And yeah, as I'm sitting here and I'm talking to you, I'm sure you're like, oh, there's no way you've gone through something that I have, okay? I watched, all my life slip away from me. Slowly but surely. I was doing everything I could to hold on to it, and it was so depressing, and I was in such despair. So why am I telling you this? I'm telling you this because if I had not wasted the time in despair, the precious time, despair, and you know what happens when you're in despair? You become vengeful and you melancholy, like Hamlet. You're sitting around and you're thinking about revenge, and you know everything's revenge when you're like that, because they did something to you, man, woman, person. They did something to you, and you're gonna get them back, and you don't know who it is yet, but you're gonna find them, because there has to be someone who's done something to you for it to hurt like this, the way that despair hurts, and despair hurts. It hurts men, and it hurts women, and it hurts transsexuals, and it hurts cisgender people, and it hurts non-binary people. It hurts everyone. You can't get away from it. It hurts gay people. It hurts homosexuals. It hurts black people. It hurts white people. If you're in despair, you're in pain. You are in immense pain, and man, does it hurt. Woman, person, does it hurt? Sometimes it's justified. Sometimes you're really sick and you deserve every right. You're absolutely right. Don't think that I'm telling you to stop complaining. That's not what this episode is about. Some people get in very rough situations and they have every right to complain. And you can be loud and you can be proud about it too. And you can say, no, I have a right, motherfucker. I'm all for that. That's not despair, though. Despair means you gave up. You don't have a voice anymore. You don't want to talk. You don't want to move. You're not even on Twitter. You don't want to do anything anymore. That's despair. That's what I'm saying. We cannot waste time there. We have to move on. We have to not get over it. Not get over it. Do you know that you can forgive someone and not accept their actions? Doesn't that blow your mind? That's psychology. It's not religion. This is one of the reasons religious people hate psychology. It's because it's not predictable. I didn't know this. I studied it recently, actually. You can forgive someone, but you don't have to accept their actions. The thing that they did wrong to you, forgiveness is not acceptance. So what's causing us this despair? Is it the person, or is it the power we're giving to the person to put us in despair? We're putting ourselves in despair, right? We can choose not to despair. We have that choice. We have that power. As I said, if you're depressed, it's different. But I can remember a time before I had really slid into depression where there was a clear opportunity to seek help. And seeking help is not despair either, because you still think there's hope. You still think there's hope. There was a really terrible story which inspired this talk tonight. It was a suicide. And suicide, to me, I know that there are many people in the world who probably would disagree. I think that suicide is one of the saddest things that can happen. A person feels so alone that they just don't want to be alive anymore. How do we let that happen to people? I'll never understand it. I'll never understand. What does it take? What does it take to see someone sad and say something? It doesn't even have to be nice. Say something. Say, hey, what you looking so sad for, asshole? Something. I don't know, some sort of Jack Nicholson comment. House. Something. There's no point. There's no point. They're already here. They're already here. What's the point in them going away? What's the point of them going away before their time? What's the point? They're in pain. A lot of times, maybe a little physical pain. Is it something that's manageable? A lot of times, yeah. Not all the time, but a lot of times, yeah. We got a lot of great medicines that will help you with especially this pain that's being caused by emotion, which is real. And you don't have to feel like you're broken because you got to take medicine. I take medicine. Look, hey, I'm an entertainer, all right? I take medicine. It's not a big deal. But there's a lot of people out there who they just can't get that. They can't get it. They say, nope, you're trying to fix me. I don't want to be fixed. People are not machines, and we can't treat them that way. We have to make sure people are healthy, and we have to make sure that they feel loved. Because this person, they went to a hospital, okay? So they chose not to despair, you see. They made the choice. The choice that I'm advocating right now, they made that choice. So good on them. And this is not a story about suicide being wrong. It's a story about suicide being sad. So this person knew that they were going to harm themselves, so they spoke with their, I believe, psychotherapist on the phone, and they made it to the hospital to get some help, which was great. But hospitals are such that the person had to wait. They had to wait, and they really didn't want to be alone. And they told them that they couldn't be alone because they knew. He knew he knew what he was gonna do if he was left alone. But this and I don't know. You know, this is what the report said. This particular branch, a mental health ward, was understaffed, and the nurse had to watch this man who was feeling suicidal and a real threat to himself, especially, not really others, but to himself, who should have been taken back immediately, had to instead sit in the waiting room and wait for about an hour. And after that time, he went into the bathroom, and that was it. So a life lost because of despair. And also because of the heartlessness of this vicious system. And this person was white, okay? I know you're tired of Black Lives Matter. You don't want to hear racism anymore. You know, you want to hear different fuzzy stories, right? You want to hear fuzzy stories about I don't know, Joe Biden's puppies, right? It's okay. I get it. But don't be surprised, though, when time flies then, okay? Don't say that as if it's a surprise. Because, yeah, your whole life is a blur. Your whole life is a blur because you're not present emotionally in the world, and I can see that through these stories. I can see that through these stories of these people who are obviously, you know, this person is obviously in pain, but there's not enough empathy there anymore, folks. It's just not there. In the old days, we had these, and I think in some places we still do, but I do honestly, I don't think it is as prevalent as it used to be. We used to have these very rigorous, you know, very caring people who would go out of their way to make exceptions to the rule, do what they had to do. And these were bureaucrats. These were bureaucrats who would make exceptions so that people could get the help that they need. It still happens sometimes, like I said, but it's becoming more and more rare. The pennies are being pinched more and more. The economy is not doing well. Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. My thoughts on that are as they always are, which is you never know with the economy in America because it's very unstable. It could be doing very well one moment, and the next moment it's terrible. That's happened several times throughout the year of this particular plague, and I think that it will continue to happen. And so when that does happen, the systems, they cut and cut and cut, and they're trying to save jobs, and so obviously we have understaffing, right? So all of this is connected, okay? And there's an inherent carelessness when you have people running around, going to concerts, doing what they're going to do, going on television shows, going on YouTube, saying all this horrible stuff about medical healthcare professionals, saying that the vaccines are bad for you, saying that COVID isn't real, saying that whatever. There's a general sentiment of we just don't care. We're too busy having fun. It's not that you're having fun, it's that you're too busy. So why don't we say time flies when you're too busy? When you're too busy to recognize that there are people in pain around you, and that sometimes the people in pain around you are in fact including you. I don't think we need to make America great again at all. I think America's always going to be great, folks. You think about it as a little ragtag country that came out of nowhere and has all these wonderful, beautiful people of different colors, right? Living amongst each other, trying to be free and doing their best, failing, but still working. That's just going to be a great country. You can't make it bad. It's not possible. Not even Donald Trump could do it. Think about it. America's still great. Yeah, sure, we're living in our houses, but we're still making great innovations. We're still having great ideas. People still want to come to America from all over the world, even when the economy's bad. It doesn't matter, right? So America is great. It never needed to be made great. So what did it need? What are you going to do to make America care again? I tell you what you can do. You can start to care about yourself because you're part of America. You're part of the show. You're in the game. You're not down for the count. You ever seen an Ali fight? You see Tyson, when they said, oh, this guy, he's not going to do anything. And they came in there and walloped those guys, right? You remember the Oakland Athletics, the old ragtag baseball team that somehow won the World Series, what was it, like 3 years in a row? No money. They still did it. They still did. They found a way. There's always a way. There's always a way. And man, is it fun. And time slows down when you're having fun because you get to enjoy every minute of it. Hey, thank you for tuning in to more Content Talk. I appreciate you listening to us. Hey, if you like the show, like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. That'd be great. Or you can subscribe over at Anchor. We're on Spotify. We're on Apple Podcasts. All kinds of networks, I believe 6. You can also follow me on Twitter at more_content_PLS. You can follow us on Pinterest at More Content Please MCP, as well as Instagram at More Content Please. Hey everyone, have a wonderful night, and I hope to see you again sometime real soon. Bye bye.